How's everybody doing? Welcome back to HottChipzz. I am HottChipzz, also known as Blow TV, Bobby Blow, bringing you my official review of the new expansion for Diablo 4, Vessel of Hatred. Now, if you've ever watched any of these review videos I do before, which there aren't many as of now, then you'll know that none of this is scripted. It is straight off the top of the head and straight from the bottom of the heart. So I'm not going to be holding anything back. I don't have any bullet points wrote down. Just going to talk to you today from my experience that I've had in the game so far. And then share with you my overall thoughts and what I think. And then I'm going to give you where I would put it on the scale between 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. And I hope you all enjoy the video. If you're new here to the channel, please subscribe, like the video if you like the content, dislike it if you don't, and comment. Let me know where I can improve on what I'm doing. We're still very much a small-time creator and trying to fit in making content in the time that I have when I'm not actually playing the game. So, okay, let's go ahead and kick this off. So, I know a lot of people and a lot of the bigger content creators, a lot of the guys you guys know and love, they've already got their videos up. They blast the game and in 3 or 4 days they got a review and all that stuff. I did blast the game. However, I wanted to kind of make sure I touched on everything before I gave it my review process. So I waited a little while. I know I told you guys it would be out last weekend. My apologies for that. I recently started working again, so I've had to kind of fit this in my schedule, and now I've got the new world out that I'm fixing to sink my teeth into. So I wanted to get this out before I started doing that. So I'm just going to jump straight in. That's enough of an introduction. The first thing I want to talk about, there's a lot of good and there is some bad. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the new direction of the game. Any of you that play this game knows how dramatically it changed when we switched over from D4 launch or base game to the expansion. There's no more level 100. There's no more, I think the cap now is level 60. They did introduce a Paragon, which is a bit of a time sink, the new system, but we'll get into that here in just a little bit. But the overall feel of the game, in my opinion, keep in mind this is subjective, is way, way better than what it was before. And I'm talking not like 10 times better, I'm talking like 100 times better. Like, this is the way it should have launched to begin with. Everything from the way the loot works now to the Paragon system grind, hell, to the grind for your loot at that. I've played nothing but the Spiritborn class, which we're going to get into here in a second. I think I'm at like 65 or 66 hours into that one class, and I still don't have all my best in slots. Hell, there's still a slot that isn't even ancestral so far on my Spiritborn, and I am pushing Torment 4, smashing Torment 3. But that goes to show you the room for growth and character development that you now have in this game that you didn't before. The way it was before, I could have had 3 classes in those 64 hours I've put on just the Spiritborn so far, right? And not even close to being done. But just in those 64 hours, I could have had 3 other characters leveled to max level, which was 100 at the time. Could have had them pretty much close to mid-maxed best in slot, and just absolutely slaughtering the game and doing nothing but killing the tormented bosses for the mythics, right? And I could have done that in less than 64 hours on 3 different characters. So I do love that it's like the characters, they're just, that you're not finished with it in under 20 hours. They give you enough time to develop the character, and it makes you want to continue to push them, instead of, wanting to start a different character now after 15 or 20 hours. They really they've done a really good job at hitting the mark when it comes to keeping you interested in chasing the power creep. That was pretty much non-existent before. And personally, I love that. I can't talk enough about how good of a design choice that was. Kudos to them 100% as far as where they have taken the game. I'm telling you, don't take it from me. Don't take my word for it. Jump in. I don't even think you have to buy the expansion. I think that those changes I'm talking about right now are the way the new base game is. So I don't even think that you have to buy the expansion to experience what I'm talking about here. So let's go ahead and move on to the new class, the Spiritborn. Now, obviously, everybody is absolutely in love with the Spiritborn right now. I'm pretty sure Blizzard overtuned the crap out of it, which was probably for good reason. They wanted everybody to play this class. I know I personally I absolutely love it. It feels like the Monk 2.0, in my opinion, in a Diablo game, which is totally fine by me. And I love it. I feel like the class design here is top tier. And I don't just play Diablo, I play all the RPGs, literally everyone I can get my hands on. Some more than others, but I still play them all. And this class, by far, is the best put together class I have ever played. The way they allow you to mix and match the different spirits, or you have so much freedom in this class to really do what you want with it, instead of going, okay, well, we're going to be lightning, or we're going to be fire, or it's not. The Spiritborn is not like that. You can do some of both. You can do a little of you'd have to play it to believe it. And I mean, one thing that Blizzard and Diablo has always been the best at is nailing how good it feels alongside how good it looks, right? Like the smoothness of their gameplay and their visuals is unmatched by any ARPG ever released to date. Now, there is, we do have early access PoE 2 coming here in less than a month. It looks good, right? But if you've ever played PoE before, which if you're watching this video you probably have, then you know the difference between a Blizzard product and a Tencent GGG product, at least up to this point, right? I mean, Diablo 3 felt 100 times better than the current iteration of Path of Exile. We're talking about Diablo 4. So it looks great, it feels great. The new class is awesome. I love the weapon that they use. I could talk about the Spiritborn for this entire length of this video, but I'm not trying to make this video 3 days long. Just play the class. It's amazing. It's second to none. And right now it is completely obliterating every other class in the game, which I'm sure was by design. But all that I'm sure will be panned out, and as players get around to going back to playing the other classes in the game, I'm sure we're going to find ways to completely break those and do trillions of damage with those classes as well. I think a Sorceress is already doing it, and I'm a Sorc main, but the Spiritborn has just been a blast. I'm 64 hours into just the Spiritborn, and when I log on, I still play my Spiritborn. Like, I haven't even started another class at this point, so go play the Spiritborn. Okay. Moving on to the next positive here. The addition of a party finder is so good. I'm going to give you my personal experience with it. I had some mats to farm the Beast in the Ice boss, and there was a person that had a party started for it. I joined the party. I didn't have nearly as many mats as he did. But me and this guy, actually, we became friends. We played several nights in a row. He was a very nice guy. Gentleman actually lives in Mexico. I'm here in the U.S., obviously. And we played, and it was, and now we're Facebook friends. right? Me and him and one of his buddies, and then we all get on and play, and now we're all friends, and they wind up checking out my content, and I checked out theirs, and so now it's like, I've made a couple of friends just my first experience with the Party Finder. That's how awesome the implementation of a Party Finder is in a game like this, man. I was a 99.99% solo player in this game, period. I mean, my brother plays from time to time. I have a buddy or two that I actually know that might play, but that's pretty much it for me. And that Party Finder has created a whole nother dimension to the game, and the way they've implemented it, right? It's not like a World of Warcraft dungeon finder where you just click what you are and you click the thing and then you wait 10 minutes and then all of a sudden you're paired with, 3 or 4 other people from God knows where, and nobody's on a voice chat, nobody's talking, nobody knows nothing. The way they did it, it's like they have different options you can choose. If you want to do a party for boss finding, if you want to do a party for pit pushing, if you want to do a party for nightmare dungeons, it's very well done. It wasn't just thrown together, copy paste, boom boom, here you go. It was very well thought out, very well done. The design of it is top tier, and I cannot praise them enough for not only adding this to the game, but doing it the right way. They didn't slouch on the Party Finder in this game at all. You got keywords you can put in, you got all the different categories you can select for what you're trying to do. It's not just click this button and then 10 minutes later you're paired with people from God knows where and nobody and people, I've made actual friends off of this thing that stretch beyond inside the game. And to me, that's awesome. I just, kudos to Blizzard for that. And thank you for not only doing it, but actually doing a good job with it. 100%. So the Party Finder is fantastic. If you haven't tried that, give it a shot. It worked out really well for me. Okay, well, I don't want to waste too much time spinning wheels about the Party Finder. Let's go into the story, the expansion storyline, and how it played out. So I'm going to preface this by saying, from what I've read and what I've seen, I guess there are a lot of people that were disappointed or upset, or maybe not disappointed and or upset, but thought that the original story, the original campaign storytelling was much, much better. Look, I'm going to do my best not to spoil anything here. I'm not going to tell you how it ended or anything like this, but I'm going to give you my personal take on it. I didn't have a problem with it at all. As a matter of fact, what I did assume that I would have had a problem with actually happened, but it happened in such a way that I wind up not having a beef with it at all. It actually blew me away. So it's like the one thing I was telling myself, right? Like, man, if this is what this winds up being, wound up being that, but I was completely blown away, in shock by how it happened, so much to the point that I wasn't mad. As a matter of fact, I was ecstatic about it. I was thrilled, right? Like, I could not have been happier with the way they turned this whole thing on its head at the end. But again, this is subjective. This is my opinion. I thought it was great. I thought they did a very good job weaving in the new class into the new storyline, obviously in the new zone, which we'll talk about next. I did think it was a little much on the learning what you are as a Spiritborn, and it could have been a little more on, the whole chasing Mephisto thing. But I mean, what are you gonna do, right? They had to balance it some kind of way, and I don't think that they failed at all. I don't think it was bad. I think maybe it could have been a bit darker, a bit more evil, if you will. But I don't think they dropped the ball here at all, man. I think they did just fine. I don't think it was anything that was like stellar, incredible, like, oh my god, this is the best I've ever experienced. But I liked it. I didn't have a problem with it. I don't think that, oh, it pales in comparison to the original base story. I don't think that at all. As a matter of fact, I think it took that torch and I think it carried it quite well. I think that maybe some people expected to cross the finish line. Maybe that's why people were upset with it. Maybe they didn't like the plot twist that comes with it. The original campaign story was a lot more straightforward. Like, you kind of knew what you were going to get with that pretty much going into it. This one, that was not the case, but I think it wasn't to its detriment. I think it worked out better for itself. Again, in my opinion, I didn't have a problem with the story at all. I have no beef there. Again, that's subjective. That's my personal opinion. Like I said, the thing that I thought I would hate the most, I wound up loving. So if that don't tell you everything you need to know, then I don't know what will. Moving on to the new zone. Now, the zone in the game is what facilitated the new storyline. Obviously, that's pretty much how these things work. I'm going to tell you right now, the new zone, in my opinion, is the best zone in the game. It's the best done. It's the best looking. It's got the biomes are good and diverse. It's even from the jungles to what looks to be like a desert area but isn't quite a desert area. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. Very well done. Best zone in the game, hands down. I don't think any other zone can compete. Not even the Fractured Peaks, okay? The Nahantu is just unbelievable. It's so good. And the dungeons inside that zone are so good. Now, you could argue, well, they're newer, they're a different look, they're fresher, they're not the same ones we've been running through the whole time. And yes, you would be accurate with that. However, they're not just, reshaded dungeons with some bushes and some sago palms like all over the place. They're like, one of the dungeons is called the Hive, and it reminded me of the Hive levels in the expansion for the original Diablo, which was called Hellfire. There was this big old thing in the ground off to the right, and it was called the Hive, and you'd go down a few levels, 2 or 3 levels, I think, and then there was a boss in there. And it was so well done. It looked so good. The Hive dungeon is my favorite dungeon out of every dungeon that's in the game. And there's a bunch of them. I think there's like 100 of them or something. I don't know. But there's a shit ton of them. But the dungeons in the zone are not just carbon copies. I mean, it's not just copy and paste, man. The Hive being my favorite. And I don't even know if I've done every one yet in Nahantu, but I will tell you that when I'm running Nightmare Dungeons, if I can help it, I'm running Nightmare Dungeons from that region of the game, period. Like, they're so much better, in my opinion, looking and done and feeling, that if I can help it, I'm not running any Nightmare Dungeons if it's not from Nahantu, period. So the overall zone and the aesthetic and what they were able to do with it, man, they really hit their mark. They went beyond. The new zone is beautiful. It's incredible. All of the creatures, some of which were from Diablo 2. And speaking of, if you're a Diablo 2 buff, right, like myself, right, I grew up on Diablo 2. I was, I think, in like the 9th or 10th grade when Diablo 2 came out. And man, let me tell you something, me and my brother and a couple of my neighborhood buddies, when I tell you we played that game, I mean, it's been over 20 years and we still play that game. Okay, so being able to revisit some of the zones, like Travancore and the Durance of Hate, and then the council members that were added slightly before the expansion with the Infernal Hordes, and but just the zones, and then the hive from the original Diablo, and then some of the creatures and monsters, being reimagined and put there from Diablo 2. It's so good, and I'm not going to ruin anything, but there are even some NPCs, some townies that made it from Diablo 2, which just completely blew my mind. I mean, the nostalgia factor there, it really did me in. I mean, it really did me in. So there's also that to consider. All in all, 10 out of 10 on the new zone, man. Period, point blank, the end. I'll argue that with the best of them any day of the week. Okay, now let's talk about the brand new endgame systems and some of the ones that were redone. So we'll start with the Undercity. Okay, so the Undercity is this time dungeon. You kill creatures, you click these little things, you kill the monsters that pop out. It gives you additional seconds to your time. There's like 3 levels to it, so it's like a speed run. You want to be killing monsters and finishing it as fast as possible. Get to the end, timer stops, you fight a boss, pop a chest worth of loot, right? Nothing new as far as that goes. But it is a time gated. It's like a race against time, which is pretty cool. I think it's a good addition. Any additional end game activity we can get is a win, in my opinion. And this one isn't any different. I think it's pretty cool. I will say that I have not done the Undercity as much as some of the others, but the other ones have progression tied behind them, and so that plays a big role. But the Undercity is very cool. You can make tributes to it, bargain with it to kind of dictate what comes out at the end for you. Pretty cool. I think the game's better with it than without it. The pit has been completely restructured now. That is how you level your glyphs. Very similar to Greater Rifts in Diablo 3. If you played any Diablo 3, then you'll be right at home with the way the new pit system works. It's structured the same. It's just now, instead of upgrading your glyphs at the end of a nightmare dungeon, you do it at the end of a pit, which they've completely rehauled the glyph system. Just to touch on that really quick. You can level glyphs all the way up to like level 100 now, and now they turn into legendary nodes at like level 46, so you still have the increase in radius at level 15. You get level 46, they become legendary, they increase the radius again. I like what they've done with glyphs. It's literally the exact same as legendary gems at the end of a Greater Rift in Diablo 3. I didn't mind that system. I don't mind it here. No issues there. Now, the Nightmare Dungeon change, I'm all for as well. They basically tied that to where now, instead of just trying to do these stupid little things to open the door at the end so you can kill the guy and upgrade your glyph, now it's like all of the champ packs and elite packs, they all drop it's like a material run now for your masterworking, right? And so the way they've designed it now is actually to where you're not just trying to click this button and click that button and get to the door and kill the boss. You're literally hunting down every pack. You're literally clearing the entire dungeons now, because they all drop the materials you need to do things when you get towards the later parts of your character development. And so to me, that's awesome. Now the dungeons actually feel like what dungeons should feel like, They upgraded the way activities work a long time ago in there, so I don't need to touch on that. Those have been better now for a good while. But I do think this was the right move when it comes to Nightmare Dungeons. I adore them. I love them. It's great. Now, the Infernal Horde will get you slightly more masterworking materials if you're good at it, but it's not enough to where it makes Nightmare Dungeons just obsolete. So that's kind of a preference thing, and some people are better and understand the way the Infernal Horde's game mode works better than others. And Nightmare Dungeons are straightforward, man. You walk in, you hunt down every champ pack and elite in the dungeon, you slaughter them, you get your materials, you move on. So bravo to switching the Nightmare Dungeons in the pit to a degree, and then adding the masterworking material drops to the monsters in the Nightmare Dungeons. Perfect. Great job. Moving on to Infernal Horde, this more or less felt the same to me as it was before. I know that they made some changes to it or something, so I'm told. I mean, outside of just making it work with the way the new difficulty system tiers work in the game. But it's still just as fun as it was before. In my opinion, one of the best, if not the best, end-game activity. It's pretty awesome. I explained this and how this works in another video, so I don't need to chew your ear off explaining to you what Infernal Hordes are. It's just wave-based. You get a timer, you get, I don't know, a minute and some odd seconds, and they just continue to spawn monsters and little activity things for you to do while you're in there, and it's all about earning resources. And then that when the waves are over, you go and you fight the 3 out of the 7, I think, bosses that you can pull from the Tramical or the Council of Tramical from Diablo 2, and you kill them, and then you get the big box for the most points that spits out a bunch of stuff, and then you spend your remaining points on either gold or materials, and that's pretty much how that goes. Very straightforward, but it's very good. It's a lot of fun. And last is with the Dark Citadel, I think it was called. Now this one, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I didn't spend a whole lot of time doing the Dark Citadel. I'm still literally trying to, apply finishing touches to my class. Like, I still have a lot of room for growth on the Spiritborn. So I didn't get into this much. I will say that it is very cool. I do like how they've introduced some mechanics you have to learn and watch out for, and I like how communication is key here, and I like how it's a group activity. I think the game needed that. People can say what they want. People can cry because they can't solo it. Man, look, there's literally every other thing in the game you can solo. So, look, I don't want to hear it when it comes to that. Fantastic addition. It's like you can get really cool cosmetics from doing it, and like they reset each week, and there's a really cool horse, and there's also like quality of life stuff in there. Like they got some scrolls that do really cool stuff. They got some elixirs you can use, like at level 1 you can get out of there. You can get the scroll of retempering out of there, and which has come from other places as well. So I think I've got like 6 of those things. So it's all in all, it's really cool, man. Give it a shot. Okay. I didn't get too much into it, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I think that the game is better for having it than not. Moving on. So the new time sink in the game now is basically your Paragon system, right? Now, as I've stated a couple of times already in this video, I'm like 65 hours into the Spiritborn, and in that time, I've managed to hit Paragon level 172. There's a total of 300 Paragon levels you can obtain. Now, this is a level you chase with all of your characters. It is account-wide. So once you hit level 60 on your other characters, if you start other characters, then you will start at, say, that 172 Paragon level and continue to progress towards that 300 for your account. It's an account-wide progression thing. But it is a good one because in 64 hours, I've only managed to barely get halfway to the cap. Now, the Paragon points that you need for your Paragon boards are now tied behind those Paragon levels, right? So being Paragon with, like, that's another thing about my character 64 hours in, and I'm only got 4 out of my 5 Paragon boards that I can possibly have, right? So even being that deep into a character, there's still so much more that I can do to increase the character's power. It's so good. It's so good. The direction of the game now is just so good. I'm in love with it, and the Paragon system is awesome. I think it's great. I think they hit it right on the head. I don't think it needs any adjusting. I hope they don't make them quicker to earn, or I hope it needs to stay right where it's at. Paragon system is perfect, and I love how the points are now tied behind the levels. So even for somebody like myself who has reached the point that he has, right? Where I can play Torment 4. I've got capped armor, I've got cap resistances in Torment 4. I'm doing enough damage. But I'm still only at 4 out of 5 of my Paragon boards, man. So I can't. Great system, beautiful system. I'm going to try and wrap this up. We're at the 30-minute mark. I apologize. Last thing on the good points is just the overall fun factor of the game, man. I think the game is 100 times better in this state currently than what it was and what it has been. Now, since Season 4, the game has been a whole lot better than what it was on the way to Season 4. I'll give it that. I'm going to give credit where it's due. I've enjoyed this game much, much more since the implementation of Season 4. Season 5 introduced the Infernal Hordes. That was a lot of fun. See, I had more fun in Season 5 than I did in Season 4, and now here in Season 6 with the launch of Vessel of Hatred, the fun factor is just on a whole nother level. Everything about the way the game works now is so much better. I literally, man, I cannot praise it enough. It's kudos, bravo, man. They nailed it. They pulled this sucker out of the oven right when they needed to. Now, let me touch on the bad. Okay? And I don't have a lot for you, right? Which is a good thing. The two main things here, the first one I'm going to mention are the bugs. Holy shit. Was this thing a buggy this is the first time that this has ever been this way in a Blizzard game, right? Like, these guys are famous for their polish when it comes to their product. They are famous for not releasing things until they are 100% happy with it and it's done. Well, this one was a little buggy, okay? There were several bugs I encountered, especially in the first couple of days playing the game. Audio bugs, bugs with the mount, getting stuck on turbo, not doing it when it was supposed to. It's a world boss bug or two. Just the game would just freeze from time to time. It's just the bugs. There were. I mean, there. I don't have a list of 30 of them to go over. Just a few of them, but there were parts I was running the campaign, and then all of a sudden you decide you want to update the game. So I'm at the very end of this 30-minute quest, and I'm fighting the boss, and then I get disconnected because of an update, and then when I get back in, I gotta do that quest all over again, and that shit was terrible. I would literally quit playing and then not play again till the next day, because of how upset shit like that made me. I understand you got to fix your game, dude, but find a better way to do it. Don't just cut somebody off in the middle of what they're doing and then make them start all over again. You know what I mean? I know in previous games you used to post messages, hey, we're going to be resetting the server for updates in this amount of time or whatever. What happened to that? What happened to communicating that with people, man? So, people don't get aggravated like I did and have to do things over again, man, especially if it was a lengthy quest that they were doing, man. Dude. And then moving on from bugs were crashes. My game probably crashed, and I had to write up an error report, I'd say 8-9 different times in the course of the first week of this game being out. Now, over the last week, it's maybe happened one time, but it was bad. It was so bad to where I was cursing them out in the report messages that I was sending them, dude. I was like, fix your fucking game. I was mad because to me, when you're Blizzard, your entire standard you worked so hard to maintain for 20 plus years was not met here. It's never been as bad ever in a Diablo game as it was I would say the first week of Vessel of Hatred. Like I said, the last week it's been almost perfect. So they have ironed down a lot of that stuff. Hell, even Lilith wasn't even dropping the Resplendent Spark that you get for killing her the first time each season you kill her. We literally just got those yesterday or the day before. when they put this nice new big patch out that fixed a lot of things. So it's like, and then there were items that didn't launch with the game, and that just now got put in the game. Some legendary epics. I'm like, you have no excuse for that, man. You're the ones that set the date for the release, right? And I know it's a big numerology thing, and you want all your dates to be 666 and all this stupid shit. Well, look, man, if it ain't ready, it ain't ready. Period. If it needs another week or two, then you give it another week or two. You don't give it to us and then say, well, we'll fix it in a couple of weeks. Like, that's not okay, man. That's not what Blizzard is known for. That's not what their foundation has been built on. So please don't start this now. Those are my only two gripes. So as far as the rating between 1 to 10, I'm going to stick this right at an 8.5 because... And listen, to understand something about the way I scale it, you don't get a 10. Nothing gets a 10 in my book. As a matter of fact, I've got more fingers on one hand than games I've given a 9.5 to. And you're talking like Ghost of Tsushima level type shit, right? So like that never happens. So an 8.5 is really, really, really good. So I don't want to have anybody having a mixed perception on what that means for me. I love it. I'm going to continue to play it. I will be jumping over and maining New World here for a little while to see what I think about that. And then, of course, I'll have a video coming out on that as well because they've completely redone that game as well. And now there's cross-platform, cross-progression, cross-play, so I can actually play with some buddies of mine that don't have nice PCs. So, but I wanted to get this out to you guys. I realize this has been a bit of a lengthy one. We're approaching 40 minutes now, so we're going to go ahead and shut this down. If you made it this far in the video, if you could do me a favor, throw a like there, maybe give me a share, subscribe if you haven't subscribed. All in all, you need to play Vessel of Hatred. If you play Diablo, if you like Diablo, you need to experience what this game is today as opposed to what it was when you might have first tried it or played it for a little while. And if you're a new player, this is the best time. This is the best it's probably going to get. Period. So I hope everybody has a good one. Be safe. And yeah, thanks for stopping by. This is HottChipzz with another review. Signing off.